All right, let's talk a little bit about what CSS is exactly. CSS, the easiest way to think of CSS is to think of CSS as being like the clothes that you put on your back. Basically, CSS are pretty much like the clothes that you put on your web page, and the XHTML document is the body. So when you want a new look, or you just want to change, you basically just change your clothes. That's what you would do in the real world, and that's kind of how CSS works. You just change your CSS styles and you can make your web page look completely different, but you're still using the same structure, the same format, or if you will, the same body as what you started with. And this makes CSS extremely flexible because you can have a page look different all the time, but you don't ever have to change the actual structure of the page. CSS is dependent on the page's structure in order to work properly, and that's why it's so important for you to have strong, clean XHTML to support those clothes, if you will, that you're going to basically be putting on your web page. If you want a more technical definition of CSS, it is basically a declarative language for suggesting the presentation of a web page. A style sheet is simply a text file that contains one or more rules that determine, through properties and values, how certain elements in your web page should be displayed. There are CSS properties for controlling basic formatting, such as font size, font color, as well as layout properties for controlling things such as positioning and float. CSS has many more dynamic properties, which we'll explore throughout this course. Right here, you can see I have a little example. This is H3 color, and then it has a hex value for the color. So H3 is one of your headline tags, and this CSS rule is basically just saying that, the color of this H3 tag should be, I believe this is like a teal or a green, but should be this specific color. So CSS basically offers a strong suggestion for a page's presentation, and the browsers generally go along with those suggestions. There are instances where they don't always comply, and we'll be discussing those as we learn about our course, and we'll talk about ways that we can kind of work around that. For the most part, though, I think that you'll find, if you've worked with web page design for quite some time, CSS is going to offer you a lot more same look, structure, and feel, as opposed to like the old days when we were using tables to get that structure. So I just want to show you a quick example that will hopefully go ahead and let you just kind of see a little bit about what CSS can do. I've built a very simple page, and basically this is how my page looks. This page right here has no CSS, no HTML styling at all. It's just the raw code. So if we look at the code for this particular file, this is what the code is, and it basically just is a bare bones minimum, a very simple web page that just has some minimal tags in it so that we can discuss these and how they work. I am viewing the source for this page in Firefox, and the reason I chose Firefox is because Firefox offers these colors where it will go ahead and show you the tags and their properties and values in different colors, so it's a little bit easier to pick those out as opposed to some of the browsers which will just show you all the code in black. So here you can easily see where all my tags are. They're like this burgundy purple color, and this is very simple. This page basically just has the bare tags that you need, like head, title, and body, to make a web page, and then it has some H2 tags which will make the headers. I have an image tag so that I can display an image. I've put an unordered list on my page, and I've made some links so that we can see how these work. So in the next example, I want to go ahead and I want to show you how this page looks with HTML formatting. So I've gone ahead and I've styled the exact same page using HTML formatting, and you can see that the page does look quite a bit different. It has different colors, different styles applied to it. The information's a little bit easier to read. I've moved the position of some of the elements. And let's just take a quick look at the code for the page. So this is the code for this specific page, and you can see right away how much more blue is in the source code as opposed to our original, and that's because everywhere there is this bright blue, it is values that the web page needs to make it look a certain way. So for instance, if I just pull this aside so you can kind of see our page, you can see that my headers are this blue, this light blue color. Everywhere I have an H2 tag, I need to define the color, the font face that I want to use, and you can see that that's repeated down here where I go ahead and I use another H2 tag. I have the color and I have the font face defined as well. And then I've also done that for my paragraph tags, I've done that for my lists and all kinds of things. So quite a bit more information goes into the web page when we're styling with HTML. And you can see if I decided I wanted to make a change, like if I globally wanted to change all my paragraphs to being, you know, a different color, let's just say green for this example, I would actually have to go into every single paragraph tag and change the color value from the gray to green. And that could basically be a lot of work depending on how long and involved your web page is. Let's go ahead and take a look at our CSS formatted page. This page is formatted completely using CSS. It looks a little bit different, and that's because with CSS you are able to introduce additional properties that you aren't able to introduce with just HTML styling. So compared to the other page, my headers have a background, they have a background border, my picture has a border, I have these custom bullets that I put in here. And I also have some different treatment on my links. I didn't point this out before, but if we go back to our HTML formatted page, which is right here, and I hover over my links, you can see that I see the link finger, so it's indicating that this is a link. If I click this, it's not going to take me anywhere because these are just null links, but you can see that my links have changed color. I defined in my code a visited link color of this green, and if I actually click on my links, if you look at this one, you can see that the text turns purple. I also have an active link color that I defined. Let's take a look at our CSS styled page. So I'm going to move that back in. And this one, my links act a little bit differently. First of all, they have no underline. When I hover over them, their state changes. So you can see that they change from blue to gray with an underline. When I'm actively clicking down, they change colors as well. And I just added a background color as well as changing the color of the text just so you can see it a little bit better. And when I release, you'll see that my visited link colors now change too. So you do have the ability to style the hover, which is very cool, and you can do things like remove the underline if you so desire. Other cool things are you can introduce like custom bullets. These are not standard bullets. I actually introduced a little graphic and put it in here. So let's take a look at this code really quickly. Here is my code for this page, and you can see a lot less blue going on. This basically looks a lot more like our original page. As a matter of fact, if I make this page a little bit more narrow, and some of it will scroll off the page, I'm going to bring in the basic HTML formatting page and just put them side to side. You'll be able to see that the actual page structure is identical. I have not introduced anything else. So all of the styling, all of the way that the page is able to display is totally dependent on the CSS. And I actually have my styles in a separate style sheet, which is a great way that you can use CSS. So if I want to change something, I would actually go to that style sheet. Here you can see that it's linking to the style sheet. We'll come back and talk a little bit more about this in depth. I just wanted to show you basically the difference really quickly between what you could do with CSS as opposed to the old HTML formatting. And you can see there's quite a bit of differences that you can do in the way that something looks. And then on the back end, your web page is much more lean. You're using a lot less text and information, which of course is going to translate in why you would want to use CSS, and we'll talk about that in the next upcoming movie.